surplus of global capital, and it's just looking for places to reside. And so they want every little piece of property that's strategically located in large cities like New York City are in the hands of global investment trusts, equity funds, real estate investment trusts, LLCs all over the place that are just buying up everything. If we don't do anything, there won't be any smaller buildings even that are locally owned. And everything will be traded on the global market. The other thing that's very clearly happening, you can see it all over New York, Manhattan, it's happening in Brooklyn as well, is the global multinationals, the banks, the Rite Aids, the corporate chains are moving in, and the consequence of that is it's not just that it takes away the local small businesses, it takes away the people that have day-to-day contact with the people who buy in their businesses. So you will have people working the chain stores making minimum wage at best, and who come and go all the time because the wages are so bad, and they don't stick with the business. What does that do to a community? I mean, I tell you, personally, I don't have a business bone in my body. If I had a small business or a large business, I would fail. But my sister has run a pizza shop for most of her life. And I see her there with the customers talking every day, with the people who work with her, who have worked in the shop for years and years. It's a community. And people come back as much for the quality of the pizza. They come to talk to my sister. Walmart is ready to make a major entrance into New York City. A few years ago, in cooperation with the then public advocate Bill de Blasio, we did a study of Walmart. At that time, he was thinking about working with unions to keep Walmart out. Well, they're changing the model, and New York City may be the first major city in which they introduce small stores. No longer large footprints, because they've saturated the market and they're going bust, the big Walmarts. So that's what's going to happen. And that's why it's more than just protecting the small business, protecting communities, it's protecting neighborhoods. And then you have already residential buildings that are 1/3 empty, 40% empty, because they're investment properties. People aren't moving into neighborhoods to live there and to have a quality of life. Try to be a neighborhood activist to improve the quality of life when half of the people aren't even around. And try to justify the public services, the parks, the schools, and the things that you need when you have half of the population that's not interested in public services and won't use the public services. So people who do work and who need those services really have to stop this massive gutting of our neighborhoods. And I think the bill, to answer your second question, is when I first saw the bill, I guess a couple of months ago, the draft, I thought it was the best thing that I've seen on the table. And I would definitely support this. But it needs to be one part of a much larger strategy. And people have to organize. Without organizing, nothing's going to happen. No bill's going to pass. The city council, city government, the permanent government is there to resist. Unfortunately, the cynics are in charge. And they will give you 100 reasons why you can't interfere with the so-called marketplace. Well, there is no such thing as a free market, because every one of the big investors in the real estate industry is getting mammoth subsidies. Last year was over $1 billion in 421A. So government is regulating and providing support for the changes that are going on in the city.
Yeah.
This is not some invisible hand.